So the practice of meditation isn't easy if you haven't noticed, especially if you're fairly new. If you've been practicing for a while, you start to experience a difference, that it's not quite as difficult. If you've been practicing for a while, you can start to begin to notice the possibility of being aware of what you are as the awareness itself. In the beginning, the habit of thinking still runs the show. So when you practice meditation in the beginning, it's the most difficult time. But if you stick with it over time, it gets easier. It gets more fulfilling. It begins to reveal to you the possibility of being at ease in your life. It begins to reveal to you the possibility of being happy. And the happiness that I'm referring to is simply the happiness when you experience just existing without suffering. Just existing without suffering. And not only existing without suffering, but the reason that there's no suffering when you're experiencing existing without suffering is because the one who suffers is not present when you're experiencing yourself as the awareness. The one who suffers is not present. It's existence without suffering. So that one-liner, Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness or awareness, and bliss or happiness. Why? Because if you look at that one-liner, there is no person there. There is no thinking there. Existence, consciousness or awareness, and bliss or happiness. We could say that that's what's available when you're meditating and you're not attending to thought, that what's there is that you exist. There's consciousness there, or awareness there. And the experience without thinking, which means without identifying yourself as a physical body or a person, the experience is a very relaxed, spacious experience. In the beginning of practicing meditation, it's hardly available. And that's one of the reasons why most people don't get past the beginning of practicing meditation, because that experience is hardly available. It's more like you're just putting up with sitting there, continually moving your attention from the thinking activity to the awareness of the breath. But the awareness of the breath lasts for such a brief period of time that you don't really get to enjoy what's available there, because in the beginning, your attention goes back to thinking pretty quickly. And then one of the thoughts that gets thought when you're thinking and you're attempting to practice meditation is, I am frustrated, or I don't like this, or I can't do this, or this is too hard, or this isn't working. Those are some of the content of the thoughts that come up for people when they're practicing meditation. And one of the reasons that they can't continue is because not only are people in the habit of thinking all the time, but even worse, they're in the habit of believing the thoughts all the time. So if you have the thought, I'm frustrated and I can't do this, you just automatically accept that thought to be the truth. And this is the way it goes in life. That not only is thinking a compulsion, not only is thinking a habit, but the habit of thinking produces a reality. It produces a thought world. It produces a thinking activity that is suffering. Because this thinking activity is being produced by the conditioning And the conditioning means that this conditioning is that you are a physical body. That's what you learn, that's the conditioning. You are a personality, that's what you learn, that's the conditioning. And you're in a world that's threatening to you. That's part of the conditioning. And if it was true that you are a physical body and you are a personality, then it would be true that you are really being threatened in life. Because a lot of things can happen to the physical body. It can get sick at any time and die. It can get into an accident. And even without it getting sick and dying or getting into an accident, it can be uncomfortable to be a physical body because it's under stress. It's under the stress of surviving every day. It's under the stress of trying to avoid suffering, and it's under the stress of trying to maintain comfort, which means you have to keep making the money. You have to keep chasing after security, chasing after comfort, avoiding discomfort, avoiding circumstances that are threatening, avoiding people that are scary, avoiding a future that's threatening. And the future is threatening if you believe your physical body and a personality, because in the end, the body's going to die. So this is the predicament that human beings find themselves in. It's stressful. And the worrying and the thinking activity that goes on just adds to the stress. It puts the body in a condition that will result in dis-ease. It puts the body in a condition where it will weaken its immune system. It puts the body in a condition where it will wear out a lot faster than it would otherwise wear out. So if it is the case that meditation offers us the opportunity for freedom from this predicament, then it would stand to reason that to learn to meditate and to practice meditation consistently would be a no-brainer. Be a no-brainer. So the thing is this, because it's difficult and because it's different than most other things you could take up and learn to do, most other things you could take up and learn to do, it's different from anything that you could learn to do, because when you're practicing meditation, you're not doing anything. And so the way it occurs to people is, oh, well, I don't know how to not do anything. How do I not do anything? Because in meditation, we're not practicing doing, we're not practicing thinking, we're practicing existing, practicing being, just existing. Existing is happening all the time, but we're busy doing, so we don't notice existing. And we're very unfamiliar with how do I experience my existence, because all I am aware of is the life that I've been living is a doing life. It's activity, it's thinking, it's doing. It's moving around in time and space with everybody else in a frenzy to try and stay in control, in a frenzy to try and not think about death and to not think about things that are scary. So meditation, if it is true that it offers this promise of freedom and it offers this promise of traveling lighter, as Paul Hederman calls it, traveling lighter, you know, not being crazy, not being neurotic, being able to enjoy life, especially given the fact that the circumstances that most of us are in, especially in the West, especially for us, are not circumstances that have us under the immediate threat of survival. You know, you're not looking for food all day. You're not hiding from the lions and tigers all day. So the life we have is a life in which the possibility for being happy really does exist. You know, nobody's chasing you. You're not under immediate threat. You know, you're not necessarily in pain, physical pain. You're not suffering from a terminal diagnosis. And that makes it even worse, because you know that it's possible for you to be happy and experience the possibility that life offers to be relaxed and to be happy. You know that's available, and yet you can't do it. That creates a whole new form of suffering. You know, you're suffering because you can't relax and experience being happy when that's really available to you. It's a whole new form of suffering. And then you find yourself complaining about the anxiety and the depression. And that's what's keeping me from being able to relax and enjoy my life, the anxiety and the depression. Well, the only reason the anxiety and depression exist is because you're caught up in a thought process and you're caught up in your conditioning. And that thought process and that conditioning has you be afraid all the time, even though there's no threat. So one of the things that's really important about learning to meditate is to study the teachings. Meditation in its original form was never taught by itself. Meditation in its original form was taught as part of a process of learning about the possibility of experiencing what's called the truth. Learning about the possibility of experiencing what's called the truth. What's that mean? What's the truth? Well, the truth means that which is real, that which is the way things actually are. And if the process of learning to experience the truth is part of learning to meditate, then obviously there must be some mistaken reality that we're experiencing that we think is true, that's not true. Like we think we're a physical body, and we think we're a personality, and that's so thorough, that's been practiced so often and so long, and that's so thorough that our brain is hypnotized to believe that that's true. And so that's the life that is happening. That's the life that is just happening. You're not consciously doing it. You're not consciously creating suffering. Suffering comes along with the life you're living, comes along with living the conditioned reality, comes along with the brain you have right now. So the teachings are meant to inspire us, breathe life into us, motivate us. The teachings are intended to help us understand the condition or the predicament that we're in. And the teachings are there to help us understand that it's not necessary to suffer. It's possible not to suffer. It's possible to be happy and satisfied. Not only is it possible to be happy and satisfied, but if you practice meditation and experience this possibility of being what you actually are as this awareness, and you really take it seriously and you practice it seriously, because one of the things that it promises is transformation and transcendence. It promises transformation and transcendence. What's that mean? It promises that you can experience yourself as awareness with enough consistency to be free from the experience you would otherwise be having, so that when the time comes and you really are under threat, which will invariably happen, you know, we're fortunate right now that that there isn't anything happening that's scaring us or anything. There's nothing happening that is taking our attention and having us, you know, just do everything we can to try and survive the situation. There's nothing like that happening. So the focus of attention under ordinary circumstances is just take advantage of the opportunity of being happy because you can. It's available. It's possible. But the other part of this is that if you practice this consistently and you learn about the teachings teach us about a different world. The teachings teach us about a world in which the awareness that we are is transcendental. It is beyond and outside of the limited experience that we have as a personality or a physical body. So it can be possible for us to experience the freedom that's available by knowing that we are not physical, by knowing that we are not psychological, that we are pure awareness itself, and this pure awareness is unaffected by any circumstance that could happen in a human life. So, on the one hand, there is happiness, satisfaction, peace of mind available when there's nothing threatening you, so that you can enjoy your life when it's possible to enjoy it. And on the other hand, if you practice this consistently, when the shit does hit the fan, you can experience it not affecting you. So you get both bases covered if you practice this consistently, and if you study the teachings, which will help you to understand not only the predicament that you're in, but help you to understand the possibility that's available. It's very important. You know, that's why I talk, that's why I do these talks when we practice meditation, because, you know, what I'm interested in is the success that I'm interested in having is that you are practicing meditation every single day because you understand what it makes possible, and because you understand that it will really make the ultimate difference in your life when you are threatened, when you get a diagnosis, when you do get old and the body starts falling apart, or when you find yourself in circumstances that were unpredictable. Some accident happens, somebody close to you dies, somebody divorces you. You know, the unpredictable circumstances that are part of a human life. So meditation is really an answer to human suffering. It's a way of practicing something that can give you access to the answer to human suffering. It itself is not the answer, but when you're practicing meditation, it gives you the opportunity to notice and begin to experience the true nature that you are, which is awareness itself. And if you can hang in there and do the practice consistently over time, you will start to get the effect. You will start to experience this difference that it makes, but only if you stay with it consistently over time. And in order to do that, you've got to train your mind to stand down, because your mind is oriented, your mind is conditioned in such a way that meditation is not relevant. It's a waste of time, according to your mind, because your mind's interested in what you could possibly do to be more secure, or what you could possibly do to avoid suffering, and what you can possibly do to chase pleasure. That's the orientation of your mind. It's an activity operation. It's not interested in just sitting still. That's why so few people end up practicing meditation, because they're busy. And it's really ironic, you know, that they're busy and they're not paying attention to maybe the most important thing a human being could possibly pay attention to, which is the truth, which is the awareness that we actually are, that offers us the potential and the possibility of really enjoying being alive and preparing ourselves for the inevitables that will eventually occur. This is the truth, you know. At one point I was studying the Heart Sutra, which is one of the teachings in Buddhism that breaks this down. It talks about how this works. And in the Heart Sutra, what it points to in terms of how this works is it says, upon the realization that the self that you thought you were isn't real, upon the realization that there is no self, that there is awareness, but the awareness is not a self. The awareness is a verb. The awareness is not a noun, it's a verb. It's an experience that's happening all the time. Upon realizing this, according to the Heart Sutra, suffering ends. The suffering ends. And it goes on to talk about, you know, how all that specifically is happening. But then at the very end of the Heart Sutra, it says, and this is the truth. This is true, not false. This is true. It emphasizes this is true. This is not a theory. This is not a belief. This is the truth. This is real. It's the truth. So if you practice meditation, it's true that you can wake up. It's true that you can realize your true nature. It's true that you can experience being happy and satisfied, regardless of the circumstances. That won't happen immediately, but it's promised. It's promised to happen. And for those of you who have gotten to a place where you've established a practice, see, that's the first thing you have to do, is establish a practice, meaning that you do it every single day. There's no doubt about whether you're going to do it or not. And you've trained your mind to accept this, so that no matter what your mind generates, no matter what the voice in your head says about whether you're going to do it or not, that's irrelevant. You're going to do it because you understand that this is maybe one of the most important practices you could do in your life. Actually, it is the most important practice you can do in your life. And after you get good enough at meditation, it starts to extend itself into your ordinary way of being in life. And that's when the promise starts to fulfill itself, because once it extends itself into your ordinary way of being in life, as you go through your day, you're happy. You know, you can drive your car in traffic and be happy. You know, all the little bullshit things that were bugging you stop bugging you, because you've learned that when these things start to bug you, the form that it takes is thinking. The form that it takes is thinking. And so you learn all you have to do when that happens is redirect your attention away from that thought process that's telling you that you should be upset right now, telling you that this should be different than it is, and you don't like it and you don't want it. You just move your attention away from that thought process. I was listening to a meditation teacher talk today, and he did a little thing with people to try and give them an idea how this works. And what he did was interesting. He said, think about something that's annoying. You know, he said, think about something that's annoying. Don't think about something that's too terrible. We don't want you to get too traumatized. But thinking about something that's just annoying to you, that bugs you. Let yourself think about that. Really identify something that's annoying, that bugs you. And then once everybody kind of got that going a little bit, right? He said, now, notice your breath. Really notice your breath right now, and pay attention to the breath as you inhale, really staying with it the full time as you inhale all the way through, and then staying with it, and then as you exhale, staying with it all the way through, staying with it as you exhale all the way through till the exhale is done. Now, did you notice that while you were paying attention to the breath, you weren't thinking of the thing that annoyed you? And if you weren't thinking of the thing that annoyed you, could it annoy you? No. That's the whole deal right there. All you have to learn to do is pay attention. That's why paying attention is so critical in this work. All you have to do is learn that your attention is yours to pay, your attention is yours to direct. And then having learned that your attention is yours to direct, use it. Start using it, actively using it, by recognizing that your attention most of the time is being taken. It's being taken, automatically taken. You have this habit of allowing thinking to happen without paying attention to it and noticing, just as in this little exercise that I did, without paying attention to it and noticing that you're causing yourself to suffer. By allowing your attention to be taken by negative thinking, which happens by itself. Your conditioning is to be afraid, so it happens by itself. And by allowing your attention to be taken by negative thinking, you're causing yourself to suffer. It's not the world causing you to suffer. You're causing yourself to suffer because you're not paying attention to the content of the thoughts and realizing the content of these thoughts is causing me to be uncomfortable, it's causing me to be afraid, right? It's causing me to get headaches, it's causing my body to be stressed, it's causing my life to be a problem. And this can get so intense and get so difficult, this can get so intense and so difficult that people will kill themselves to escape. People will kill themselves to escape. And then it goes down lesser and lesser, where people won't kill themselves to escape, but they'll do as much as they can to anesthetize their experience. They'll do as much as they can to tranquilize the brain, anesthetize the experience, distract me, from what I'm worried about, distract me from what I think about all the time. So your life becomes about being distracted and tranquilized. And it's getting more and more popular all the time, right? Video games, people are playing video games, more and more. People are smoking marijuana More and more people are drinking alcohol, more and more, people are watching TV more and more. People are doing whatever they can to try and escape from life. So you see, if you really pay attention to these teachings, because these teachings talk about this, so you can understand the importance of practicing meditation as a way of escaping from escaping. It's a way of escaping from escaping and discovering you can actually be here for your life and enjoy it. You can be here and enjoy it. How? By practicing not thinking, by practicing the possibility of having your attention be in the world, paying attention to what's happening, enjoying that, enjoying the fact that there's nobody trying to kill me right now. But you can't do that until you practice meditation long enough that the thinking activity starts to die down. And it does. It does. If you practice not giving your attention to thinking, if you lose your interest in thinking activity, if you stop believing thinking is so important, the thinking activity starts to die out, starts to die down. And as it starts to die out and starts to die down, you start to experience your being available to your life. And because this thinking activity is not the narrative that's telling you you should be worried, it's telling you this isn't what it should be, since that's not playing anymore, you're actually there. You're actually there for your life, and you start to experience what it's like to be in existence, to be consciousness or awareness, and to be happy without the thought process. That's available. That's available. I am here to testify that it's available because I've been practicing meditation for years, and I can tell you that it works. It really works. But it only works if you do it consistently and you do it long enough that the value and the benefit starts to happen naturally. So you don't really even have to practice meditation anymore. That's what's possible. Okay. So I hope that you heard what, one of the famous teachers said, let those who have ears hear. I hope that you have heard what I just said. If you really did hear it, then you will take advantage of what I was talking about and make sure that you make meditation something that you do every single day, like brushing your teeth. And if you do, the time will come when you will know what I'm talking about. You don't have to believe what I'm saying.